Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point. Brian Fisher is my name. Program is Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on conservative talk radio. That's why the sort of the topics that we deal with may be a little, I don't know what word to use, more masculine, I guess, and maybe what you're going to hear on a lot of other talk radio programs. And I'm not criticizing any other talk radio programs. I mean, they're doing what they are supposed to do. But, we want to deal straight up with the truth here, and there may be sort of there may be a tensile strength here in defending the Word of God that you may not find other places, even on conservative talk radio, and we don't apologize for that here. So we believe the Bible teaches capital punishment. It justifies it. It's God delegating his authority to civil government in the interest of justice. That's what it's about. Back to the firing squad thing just for a second. And I'll take your calls on that as we get back to the phone calls in a minute, 888-589-8840. What happens with firing squad typically is it'll be comprised of volunteers, all of whom are sharpshooters that don't miss. They're not going to miss a target, any one of them. So they may have a team of 5 or 6, all of whom have volunteered. And again, this is justice. Go back to the last caller. I can understand why some people might be squeamish, but people go into law enforcement because they want to see justice done. This is the ultimate form of justice for someone who takes an innocent human life. And by the way, it's the most pro-life thing that we can do, because we are indicating by that this is the value that we place on human life. We place so much value on human life that if you take another human life without just cause, we are going to insist that you forfeit your own life. That's how much human life means to us. So capital punishment is the ultimate expression of the sanctity of life and the pro-life point of view. But you get these volunteers, all of them sharpshooters, none of them are going to miss. So let's say I have a team of 5 or 6. The accused, the convicted, is usually strapped to a pole so he can't run away. They don't want to shoot a moving target. He'll be blindfolded so he doesn't see it coming. And then they will take aim at his chest, I think is usually what they aim at, the body. And so these sharpshooters, each of them will be given one bullet in their gun, but only one of them is live ammo. The other 5 are blanks. And none of them, not one of the 6, knows which one of them has the live round in their rifle. So when they fire on command, none of them knows who pulled the trigger that took the life of the accused. And I think that's a good way to do it. Now, a couple of quick things before we go back to the phones. Let's grab clip number 4. Jen Psaki is her name. She's a spokesman for John Kerry, the State Department. John Bolton said what we've got right now is we have foreign policy that's being run by children. That's exactly what I was saying yesterday. It's like I'm listening to a student council from high school. These people are immature. They are shallow. They are superficial. They are inept. They have no idea what they're doing. And this is exactly what John Bolton was saying. I have a tremendous admiration for John Bolton as a former secretary to the UN, chosen by George Bush, and he was a super ambassador to the UN. Wouldn't take guff from anybody there. And he said, look, what we've got right now is we have a foreign policy that's being run by children, like by a student council at a high school. And John Kerry's been trying to get the Palestinians and the Israelis to the table to negotiate some kind of peace settlement. That's his big thing. He wants to bring peace to the Middle East. You'll never get that with Islam. As long as Islam is the Middle East, there will never, ever be peace between Muslim nations and Israel. It cannot happen because the religion of Islam teaches them to exterminate Jews. So you're never going to have peace there. It's not possible. Never going to happen. So Israel just has to be prepared to defend itself always against lethal force. So anyway, John Kerry's been trying. So the reporter from the Associated Press, his name is Matt Lee, and he asks Jen Psaki, this secretary of the Student Council at State Department High School, what kind of progress John Kerry and the State Department have to show for all of these talks, all these negotiations. He says this. Now, the video is not great here, especially on the reporter. The audio for Jen Psaki is clear. You'll have to strain a little bit to hear the voice of the reporter, Matt Lee, and I'll clear up any confusion when we listen to the soundbite. Matt Lee says to Jen, outside of the progress that you would say they'd made in the closed-door talks. Can you point to one tangible, on-the-ground benefit that has resulted in the last 9 months of negotiation? Remember, the same woman was asked last week, we played the soundbite, what is one accomplishment of Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State? She could not come up with one, couldn't identify one accomplishment that Secretary of State Hillary Clinton had accomplished. That's panel at MSNBC. Morning Joe couldn't come up with one. So Matt Lee, what about these negotiations with the Palestinians? We got John Kerry now. You couldn't identify one single achievement of Hillary Clinton. How about one tangible benefit that John Kerry's been able to produce from all these negotiations? Here's her response.
Well, Matt, I think obviously having both sides talk about these tough issues and be at the table together and address core issues that need to be reconciled in order to have two parties living side by side, we do see as a benefit. Well, I'm not going to lay out what happened behind closed doors, as you know, but again, that's where the progress was made.
But if I'm an Israeli or I'm a Palestinian, and today I look at my situation as it exists on the ground, what would you tell me is the benefit to having to these last 9 months of negotiations?
I would tell you that the benefit is talking about what the end game would be for a peace process where two parties are living side by side in peace and security.
But the talks are over.
So she doesn't have an answer. Well, they're talking. Well, he said the talks are over. What did they produce? Has no answer to that question. Grab clip number 1 before we go back to the phones. This is Bill Maher, and a number of people now are expressing concern about what's happened with this Don Sterling situation. Nobody defends what he said, but they're concerned and kind of alarmed, really, that this guy has been stripped of his NBA franchise for things that he said privately inside his own house. And this makes Bill Maher, clip 1, pretty uncomfortable.
But, the creepy part is that, when you get taped in your own house and then that goes out to the world, again, no one here is defending Don Sterling, but that's what's creepy to me, is that we can't even speak in our own house anymore. I don't even know how that tape gets out there. I don't know why that's legal. But I'm much more concerned about things like that than I am the NSA, which I'm concerned about too.
So Bill Maher pretty concerned here about the invasion of privacy. Again, nobody's defending what this guy said, but this recording is illegal. You can't use this in a court of law because California is a state where you got to have permission from both parties to record a conversation. A lot of states, only one person needs to know about it. There's no state where you can tape a conversation where at least one of you, that's to prevent eavesdropping. But a lot of states, if one of you knows it's being taped, that's fine. That's all you need. But California, two-party state. And so this is illegal, could not be used in a court of law. Now, here's Mark Cuban, clip number 2. He's the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. And he says, look, I talked yesterday about the fact that where this is going is gay activists love this thing because they draw the false comparison between race and the gay agenda. And they want all of America to think about us the same way they think about Donald Sterling. And Mark Cuban tumbles to that and he says, look, I got a concern here. We're on a slippery slope. Now, you have to listen carefully. This is internet audio.
Generally speaking, where do you draw the line? That's an incredibly slippery slope. And to ask the question, someone in the Washington Post wrote an article. Well, you knew this person was like this. You know, how many homophobes are in this league? How many people are bigoted in one way or the other in this league? I don't know. But you find one, all of a sudden you say, well, you can't play favorites. Being racist against African American, it should be the same as being, prejudiced against, homosexuals, right? Or any LGBT organization. Okay, where do you draw the line? What about anti-Semitism? What about, all the way down? That's a slippery slope. We have to be very careful.
So he says a slippery slope. We got to be very careful. What about somebody that's rated as a homophobe? That's against the LGBT agenda. Are we going to start taking their franchises away from them based on sentiments that they express in the privacy of their own homes? And I've seen Twitter feed out there has been active today. We need to start asking these questions about these NBA owners that have made donations to organizations that support natural marriage. We got to poke into that. Should they be allowed to keep their franchises if Donald Sterling is not? All right, let's go to the phones. Let's go to William in Aylett, Virginia. William, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
taking my call. I've listened to your show for a number of years. You haven't said anything about it in a while. You recovered fully from your hip surgery?
Well, it's still a little tweaky. Every once in a while, still a little twingy. Sometimes it'll bother me when I'm playing golf. It's a great alibi, by the way. I'm out there hacking it around with Jeff and Wesley, man. I just lay it off on the hip. So I'm, there's an upside to that. But pretty much I can walk without pain and all that kind of stuff. Still tweaks me every once in a while. But thanks for your concern. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like I said, I've been listening to you for a while. Brian, listen, I've talked to you before. I'm a retired Air Force veteran, aircraft fighter maintenance. Okay, and when I heard earlier, I didn't catch the very beginning of your show because I wasn't able to get out quite in time, but about the school being, the student body being asked to recite the Pledge of Allegiance and
in Arabic, and they use the word Allah instead of God, right?
I mean, Brian, I don't mind telling you, at that point in time, I said, this is enough. This is enough. I've had it now, okay? Here again, I'm ultra-conservative. The good Lord Jesus Christ that was to save me from my sins, and I vote, okay? And, with this situation with Benghazi, I hope, if nothing else, it takes Clinton out of, ruins her political career because she's in up to it up to her neck, okay? And as far as somebody daggone feeling that the death penalty is bad, or this guy may have suffered, okay? Brian, let me ask you something. Did that young lady that was shot and buried alive, did she suffer any less?
Yeah, and that's my point, William, and I appreciate your call. I'm out of time. I wish we had more time to talk, but that's exactly my point. She suffered way more than the murderer suffered. All right, well, listen, I appreciate the call, William. And William's not alone. A lot of people fed up with what's going on with political correctness, including Islam and the gay agenda. That's it for today. See you right back here tomorrow. God bless you.